Angel, part two, Angel. Okay, it's crazy. It's crazy in New York. You know those squatters. Okay, you're not a squatter. You have your own house. I mean your own cage, huh, Angel? Okay, so you just stay in your cage. Okay, you might get evicted. Okay, Angel. Okay. Okay, I know. Don't be scared. Let's watch the video.
Basically pro-landlord propaganda is pushed by these real estate groups and these landlord associations.
So Emma just vomits up right here that this is just being pushed by these real estate groups and they're absolute scumbags, and it's these large corporate real estate groups, when the fact of the matter is that's not the case. There's almost no stories in the media of large corporations having to deal with the squatters issue. And this is despite the fact that in my fiance's previous building, which was owned by a large company, they did have an issue with somebody doing this on their floor. And the reason why is because when you own a building with hundreds of units and you only have one squatter or a couple of squatters in that entire building, as a corporation, you're able to absorb the cost of that. You're not able to be as easily extorted because it doesn't affect your bottom line as much. And you have the staff to go to all the court dates in order to adjudicate this. In fact, these people benefit by driving these small landlords and homeowners out of business. And again, when you look at the situations that they're not showing you because they don't want to talk about the issue at hand, what you find out is that you have average everyday homeowners, people who end up in these crazy situations, or small landlords that are stuck with the bill and threatened with jail if they don't support these very people that are stealing their property.
It's punishable by 5 years in jail.
So here you are, you have to pay the upkeep of the house,
Right. I pay
and not getting any rent?
I'm not getting any rent. I'm paying the gas and electric every month.
4 stories repeated over and over and over again by irate and often unwitting property owners. Lorry lines marking their faces, who came to City Councilwoman Vicky Palladino's office desperately seeking help. Hong Chen has spent thousands trying unsuccessfully to get the squatters out of this home in Maspeth. John Sokran using his pension money for expenses on this College Point home he hoped would provide retirement income. And Susan Mascara, who has used up her savings paying for 7 years of upkeep on this Bayside home she inherited from her mother.
I'm in debt. My credit cards are pretty much maxed out.
So let's be clear. We have Emma, who comes from a family that's richer than every single person that you're seeing right here in this particular segment. You know, the immigrant guy who has a property and that's his source of income. These people who've had relatives die and they're trying to sell their dead relative's home to somebody who wants it. Emma's family's richer than all of them, trying to convince you that this is just an issue for evil corporations and that you should just ignore it and let these people get screwed over, let them get extorted.
They turned off the hot water and then reported that they had no hot water. It's a $250 fine per day, up to $15,000, punishable by 5 years in jail.
Let them get jailed because people are running these extortion schemes against them.
Yeah.
I do want to say, like, what's really amazing me about this whole discourse about the squatters and everything is that, like, I've seen, like, if you're a tenant, which a large portion of this country is, if you're a tenant, why the fuck do you care about this? Like, why do I see people who are renters or tenants out there, or even someone who owns a single fucking home and that's their residence where they live? Why do you care about this? It does not affect you. It will never affect you.
Binder, it's a 4-letter word, C-U-C-K.
So here you have Binder saying, oh, if you're a tenant, why would you care about this? Why would you even be concerned about this? Well, first and foremost, if you're a tenant and one of the people in the property that you're living in is one of these criminal squatters that's destroying the property purposely in order to extort your landlord, that directly affects you. And secondly, on a more human level, I don't want people to be defrauded. It is not a good society where thugs and criminals are able to extort people, and just because it's not happening to you doesn't mean it's not happening. These people have no moral principles at all whatsoever.
Yeah, basically, you know, the problem is, like, people, this isn't a conversation about, like, an abstract policy or something. Like, this is something that people actually experience in their everyday lives directly. Not like, oh, this policy does that and that affects this. This is a direct effect on people. Like, if you're walking down the street and, you know, something happens to you, you get attacked, you get mugged, whatever, you directly experience that. So if someone's telling you that, you know, city's been, whatever city has been safer than ever. You're dealing with people who are like, well, I just had this happen to me. So how can you say that?
This is the same dope that just a few minutes ago in this very video talked about how, oh, you get victimized by crime and that's the only reason you care about it. But in reality, like I said in that previous video, he thinks like that. He's telling on himself because he's like, oh, if it doesn't personally affect you, why do you care about it? Well, a lot of things don't personally affect me, you absolute buffoon. A lot of things don't personally affect you as a dorky communist living in New York because you have no actual interesting lived experiences, but that doesn't mean you can't be concerned about it. I mean, seriously, think about how stupid this rationale is in any realm of policy discussion. So if you want to talk about medical bankruptcies and people who got sick and then they couldn't afford it, they were driven into bankruptcy because they didn't have insurance and they have all these oppressive medical bills. Well, if you didn't get sick, if you didn't go bankrupt because of your medical bills, why are you even talking about it? Why should that even concern you? Because that didn't happen to you. You want to talk about the issue of mass shootings. Well, very few people in the United States of America per year are killed by rifles total, let alone mass shootings. These are unicorn events. So why would you even be concerned about it if it didn't happen to you? Again, if you try to apply this logic to any other issue that this guy was concerned about, that this guy actually cared about, he would not accept it and he would call you unempathetic. But in reality, in actuality, that's how he views the world. That's what he cares about. And by the way, the only reason that he is against the landlords in this is because he's a dopey communist that hates the rich more than he cares about the poor. In fact, in reality, if you actually cared about poor people, the number one thing that you would want to protect are private property rights, because that's how you build an economy, that's how you build a middle class. But he's totally against that because it's all about vindictive hatred that this person has for other people, not about actually helping anybody. That's the dirty little secret of all of these commie dorks. They don't actually care about anybody except themselves and their own personal power. That's the reason why he's not telling you any of the actual stories that actually made squatting an interesting topic to talk about, because he believes that that would subvert his ideological goals. Therefore, it's not worth sharing to anybody. This is how the majority report operates.
You are literally hurting laws that are established to actually protect you, the renter or tenant. Like, it is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I saw someone in the chat say, like, yeah, you won't, the live chat on YouTube. Yeah, like, but if you owned a property and this happened to you, you'd think differently. Well, guess what? I will never own a second property, and this will never happen. I'll never, I don't know if I'll ever own a single property, but I'll never, for sure, own a second property. This will never happen to me.
Exactly.
So why the hell would I care that someone who's unhoused finds an empty, uncared for home and is living in it temporarily?
So there you have it right there. Bender's like, listen, I'll never own a property at all my entire life. Who am I? Emma Bigland's parents that probably own multiple properties? So yeah, it doesn't affect me. And then he tries to pivot to say that the issue is unhoused people, which by the way are homeless people, again, note the language change right there, living temporarily in a completely abandoned property. As if, again, these are any of the stories that people are talking about, as if these are any of the stories that people are concerned about. And by the way, squatting situations can happen in regular apartment buildings. So if you're renting from somebody else and somebody gets into your property while you're on vacation, this can happen to you. In fact, very tragically, my aunt's friend since childhood, he ended up passing away during the COVID-19 pandemic. You know, that period of time where in New York City you had about 14 days in order to collect the body of your relative before they were buried anonymously in an island between Queens and I believe the Bronx. Well, at that period of time, the family didn't realize that he had passed away, went over to visit him, and guess who was living in that apartment just a couple of days after this guy passed away? 2 drug addicts that were taking over the property, stealing his stuff, destroying his stuff, and this is how these people found out that they had a dead relative. So this guy's trying to pretend like, oh, well, it's just completely abandoned property. I mean, the woman abandoned the property that we talked about earlier when she went to go get groceries from the trunk of her car, and that's something that you guys shouldn't worry about because it's not going to affect you.
You know, if the homeowner comes and wants to take it back, they have to go through the legal process. Oh no, but guess what? They'll most likely get it back. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous for anyone who's a working class or middle class who even owns a single home and no more to care about it.
Now, this point I found to be incredibly hilarious. The fact that Bender is saying, well, eventually you'll get your property back, so don't worry about it. But the thing is, these cases take on average 20 months. That's almost 2 years. But as we've seen with these other various examples, some of these people have been in court for 7 years.
No court case should go 7 years.
Why can't you just change the locks?
Oh, I will be arrested instantly.
7 years. And by the way, when you're running up the electric bill, when you're damaging the property, they can't turn off your utilities. So you end up paying those fines daily that add up to about $15,000 maximum, and can spend 5 years in prison. So God forbid you end up in one of these 7-year-long evictions and you run out of money being able to afford to pay for the electricity of the people that stole your property. I mean, you already have these cases where people are tapping their pensions in order to cover the bills and maintenance for these criminal people impersonating tenants. But Matt Binder says, don't worry about it, suck it up, because guess what? You'll get your property back eventually, maybe. Who knows? You might be bankrupt in the process, but Binder says you'll get it back, and he looks like a homeless version of Destiny, so trust him, he's got it.
It is absolutely, and I think the stat is, in this country, I think like 1 or 2 million out of, 360 million or whatever live in this country own more than one home. Like, give me a break. That this is a major issue that people are caring about in this country. So
what I love about this is they're like, oh, this is only 1% of the population that should be concerned about this. Although I will point out to everybody in the audience that 60-something% of the population owns a home in the United States of America or lives in a home that they own in the United States of America, so it's nowhere near 1%. But what I find hilarious about this argument, other than the fact that it's completely untrue, the numbers, the scale completely off, which is unsurprising. These people don't understand numbers, they don't understand policy, they're directly lying to you guys out there in the audience, is that less than 1% of the population is transgender. But Binder, on his Leftist Mafia podcast, did an entire lengthy segment, and I believe they did two actually, about Anna Kasparian saying that she doesn't like some of this language surrounding the transgenders and how they're trying to change language for the broader population based on a population that's less than 1%. And they all had a bitch fest over it. Each and every one of these lefties melted down over that. Emma Vigeland did segments on it. She tweeted about it. She bitched and moaned and cried about it. So when it's a 1% population, sub 1% population that they care about, we have to reorient all of society. But when you have a situation where people are having their property stolen by criminals when they're being financially extorted, we have to pretend it doesn't exist, obfuscate the issue, talk about some dope in Australia, anything and everything to avoid what's actually going on in the city of New York and in this nation. Now, whenever I talk about these squatting issues, people say, Sean, who's on the other side of this? Who's actually making the argument for these laws to stay in place, for innocent people to be screwed over? Who actually takes these positions? And here you have it right here. 4 individuals, 3 in front of the camera and 1 behind the camera, all making the case for the criminals, for people to be extorted. But the thing is, they're too cowardly to actually make that case. The thing is, they're too weak-willed to actually stand behind their positions, because not once throughout this whole course of this segment did they cover a single squatters case in the city of New York. A single story that has actually grabbed the attention of people. They try to pivot to 10 years abandoned properties as if that's what anyone is talking about. So even these people who are defending those criminals can't even stand by those positions. They're too afraid to show even their stupid audience, who largely agreed with this segment, by the way, what's actually going on in the city of New York, because they know even the people that watch their show, even the people that are so uninformed that they think these people have anything valuable to offer, not just in what they say, but period, as human beings, would turn against them if they actually looked at the heart of the issue. If they actually saw these people that are being arrested, that are being extorted by these criminals that they're trying to paint to be innocent angel homeless Aladdins. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it just goes to show you how disingenuous these people actually are. I mean, again, not one case, not one example that is relevant to the conversation was brought up. Instead, they had to pivot all the way to Australia and talk about properties that are abandoned for 10 years that people are going to fix up, as if that is anyone's issue at all with this particular case. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the Majority Report, trying to defend, but actually being too cowardly to defend squatters. Till next time.
Angel, you're not a squatter, huh, Angel? You're an innocent Aladdin, huh, Angel, huh? those crazy people. Huh, Angel? You know, you are San Francisco born. Huh? You have your own home. I mean, your own cage, huh? Okay. So we're gonna watch the video again, okay? Let's watch it. Okay, Angel? Okay. Good morning, Angel. Okay? Okay, let's watch it. Angel! Okay.